Hi guys, in this video we will learn about staggered grids. In the previous video we learned about vertical and horizontal grids, simple grids, but this is staggered grid. So what are the differences between staggered grids and simple grids? In the staggered grids, height or width in staggered rows, in staggered horizontal staggered grid, it will be the width that will vary, and in the vertical staggered grid it will be the height that will vary, that will be not be similar, they can be of different heights, right? Items can be of different heights, and similarly in lazy horizontal grid items can be of different width. So let's start about that. So you might have seen about the Instagram search page, there the height of the items is not the same, right? That is the staggered grid actually. So let's start with that. So let's lazy horizontal staggered grid, and it's similar to the lazy horizontal grid. Only difference is we will have to use here staggered grid cells instead of cells, and again the same thing, this can be adaptive and this can be fixed. So we will be using the fixed. If you want to learn about adaptive you can check my previous video as well, but let me give a quick overview here as well. In the adaptive, it adapts according to the width or height, right? It horizontal staggered grid adapts according to the height, because it divides the height in the grids of rows, like this, then this, then this, right? It adapts according to the height. So we can specify some size here, min size. Let's say we want each item of 20 size, 20 dp size. So what it will do is, according to the height, let's say we have 200 total height, according to that it will pick up like 10, it will create 10 grids there, right? And similarly it will work in the lazy vertical grid, but now we will be using it fixed, right? Fixed is like how many rows or how many columns we want. In this horizontal staggered grid it's rows. How many rows? We want 3 rows, right? And this is experimental, so we'll have to opt for experimental foundation API. This is still experimental, right? So let's use the items function here, and again we have test data dot test items, because this is simply a list. You can think of like list of this class. It contains id, title, url is a string, url is the network url from which we will be loading the data, right? And we will be using the async image, right? So async image is asynchronously, which loads asynchronously, it does not block the UI, right? And this is part of the coil library. We need to add coil library as well. If you check in the build.gradle, I have added that, so you can just simply Google and add this coil library for compose, right? And another one is like, as we are using the internet, we need to add internet permission as well, right? So let's continue with that. We can give content description as empty, and we can give it as item. You can name it, otherwise you can use it as well, but we, for the convenience, we have used item.url, right? Let's run it. It will take full height now. Yeah, it will take full height, but rows are 3. We have specified 3 rows, but how? Because we want some fixed height here, right? Otherwise it will take up all the width. Usually in the let's say we want only 200.dp for this grid, right? If you see, now 3 rows are there, but there is no spacing between images, right? So they are actually merged into each other. So let's give some spacing here. Horizontal item spacing, let's say we give it 4 dp, Now spacing is there, you can see, and grids are also there, but we need to give vertical arrangement. If we want to give space vertically in the horizontal grid or list, so we can use arrangement dot space between. It can be with both lists and grids, like vertical and horizontal. It gives just the space between the items, right? Sorry. Space by, sorry, my mistake. It's a space by, not space between. So we can, items will be spaced by this much space, right? So now this is the vertical, so between, like here in the column wise. So, and this one is this vertical arrangement, and horizontal item spacing is like this one, right? For more clear, it will become more clear. Let's try it again. So here you see between rows, so horizontal is between rows, sorry, again I'm bad. So horizontal is between this, like, right, between columns. So this is horizontal grid. So between, so horizontal grid, what it does is it align items horizontally. So this is a very simple way to remember this thing. If it is like horizontal, so horizontal is like from left to right, like this thing. So it will give spacing as well from left to right. So it is horizontal item spacing. So we can give vertical arrangement here, arrangement dot space by 4 dp. It will give space vertically, right, top to bottom, right? You can see, if you can see in the horizontal staggered grid, it will be the width that will be different, right? You can see height is same but width is different. This is the staggered grid, right? Similarly, we can copy and paste this, and we can use it here in the LazyVerticalGrid, staggered vertical grid. So it will be similar, not much differences will be there. Instead of rows, we will have columns, and height is not needed. It will take the rest of the height in the column. And again, here we have vertical item spacing because it is vertical staggered grid, and here we will have horizontal arrangement. If you check, width is, it's not taking up the full width because it's maintaining the aspect ratio, because by default we have content scale, that is content scale dot fit this. What it does is it only considers the aspect ratio of the image and maintains that. It does not consider the width or height of the outer container. Outer container means like this much space is allotted for this, right? This is the outer container of it, like one column, right? This much and then this much. It's not considering the space of its parent, right? So, and then if we crop it, if you see, and let's run it as well parallelly. So it also uses aspect ratio, but it crops to the image, to the it crops image to the get it fit inside the dimension of this destination. Like is this one was destination, so it crops now. If some content can go outside here and here, but it crops so that item gets filled inside the its destination, like where we are inside which we are using it, right? So here if you see, this is not staggered grid, right? That is the main thing we will be seeing now. That is modifier dot wrap content height. This is very must part in the vertical staggered grids. If you see, now it's vertical different heights, right? If you see, and why this is needed, because otherwise by default what it do is it will use fixed height there, because we have used the crop, and what's happening here is it is a vertical grid, so it's not maintaining like it's. So what is happening is there width is getting fixed there, it's not picking up the complete aspect ratio according to the height, right? And again, if we assign some fixed height here, this is very important point, then it will not be like a staggered grid, it will be a simple grid. If you see, it's a simple grid. So height, this thing matters very much. Inside this we need to apply it wrap, it will take what is available from the image, and only then, because this what these staggered grids are do, they only we need when we want to use the original width and height of the image. So some images can be of small width, small height, some can be of larger height, so it will use them as it is, right? For that we need to use wrap. What will do is it will use what is available, right? If you see, allows the content to measure at its desired height. Desired height means what it wants to take, and what it wants to take is what is its original height from the network, right? So this part is very important for this LazyStaggeredGrids. So guys, this is about, and if you see in the LazyHorizontalGrids, it is the width that is different, not the height, but in vertical grid it is the height, right? So you can use them according to your need. So that is it about horizontal and vertical staggered grids. And in the coming videos we will be covering everything about Jetpack Compose. I am sharing my learnings of Jetpack Compose here so that it can help others as well. So you will, by the maybe end of all these tutorials will be end there, then you will be able to make a complete app. I think in the Compose we will be covering everything in navigation, and how we can use bottom tabs, how we can navigate from one screen to another, how we can use state, what are side effects, everything will be covered. Stay tuned for those. So see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care. And I will one thing I forgot to tell, so I will upload the code, I will put the link in the description. I will upload the code on the GitHub. So thanks, bye bye, keep coding.